Good morning, everybody. My name is Tony Jordan. I'm the co-founder and creative director here at Montreal World Carnival. Welcome to our global summit on Carnival for 2024, virtually. Hopefully all of you out there have been following us and realizing how important it is for us to have things like this in order to have a more inclusive and diverse carnival community. And we all have a lot to share and learn from each other. So without further ado, we'd like to thank all of our speakers and moderators and sponsors and partners who followed us along this pretty massive journey and will continue to go with us into the festival. Here we have Athaliah Samuel, who will be the moderator for the first topic, and I'll pass it on over. I'll be doing translation for Caroline Constantin from France, who will be joining us on the first panel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tony. It has been such a ride getting here for this moment. I want to say thank you again to the Montreal team for having me. And of course, I can't wait to speak to you, Caroline. I know we have differences in language barriers, but we have the perfect team who can actually assist with this moment. And Gemma Raeburn for being one of the most energetic Caribbean vibrant persons I know as well for having me here today. So I have a nice little script so people can get an insight of what today is all about before I start asking questions. So this today is all about Carnival's global footprint. So yesterday, today, and tomorrow, because we need to understand what Carnival is about, where it's going, and who is really and truly it's celebrating what other countries have. So I have a little script that I'm going to read so people can understand where we are going with our topic for today. So Carnival celebrations have a deeply rooted and colorful history that spans continents, with each culture bringing unique flair and meaning to these vibrant festivals. This panel will explore the evolution of carnivals across the globe, from their historical beginnings to modern transformation. Panelists will share insights into how these festivals continue to thrive by blending cross-culture influences, yet also face unique challenges in preserving authenticity amid globalization. A major theme will be the growing financial demands of staging Carnival today, rising costs from elaborate costumes and float designs to venue rentals and essential supplies like gas have made Carnival production an increasingly expensive venture, putting a strain on organizers who work to keep these festivals accessible. Experts will discuss how sustainable approaches, excuse me, and diversified venues streams are now vital to Carnival's survival, and sponsorships, partnerships, merchandising, and the ticket sales, of course, becoming essential to cover escalating costs. Additionally, the session will examine the balance between preserving Carnival's traditions, because we have carnivals all over the world and each are very unique to each country, and embracing modern innovations to attract and engage younger generations through exploring Carnival's presentations and envisioning its future. So this morning, let me start by asking Caroline to introduce herself to the mass audience. So Caroline, hi, how are you? Should I say, how you say it? Bonjour?
Bonjour.
Bonjour? So I'm
Merci
taking my
beaucoup.
first step. Okay, thank you. So can you introduce yourself to the people who are in the wider world looking in?
Yes, thank you. With pleasure. Thank you, Athaliah.
You're
Merci
welcome.
infiniment pour cette rencontre aujourd'hui qui est merveilleuse. Et puis, merci aux organisateurs parce que l'exercice est très difficile en virtuel. Donc, je suis Caroline Constantin du Carnaval de Nice en France. Mais je viens du monde de l'opéra. Je suis scénographe hein, de formation et je suis restée plus de 33 ans à l'Opéra de Nice en qualité de peintre, chef décoratrice, puis directrice des ateliers de l'opéra. C'est important de le remettre dans le contexte, puisque quand je suis arrivée dans l'histoire du Carnaval de Nice, il y a 5 ans à peu près, j'ai imaginé que le Carnaval, pour moi, était un opéra de rue et qu'il fallait qu'il soit écrit avec une véritable dramaturgie, avec de grands artistes, de la musique, des costumes, comme un opéra. J'ai 61 ans maintenant, mais j'ai une passion dévorante pour cette manifestation qui est à la fois pour du public qui vient se divertir, mais qui est de plus en plus un très fort levier social. Le carnaval est intergénérationnel, interculturel. Nous sommes tous présents aujourd'hui pour démontrer et être le plus fort pour préserver ces événements dans le monde que nous devons ramifier ensemble pour montrer nos cultures diverses, nos sociétés différentes. Tony, tu peux m'arrêter quand tu veux pour traduire.
Maintenant, oui. Uh, so just to give a brief synopsis, Madame Constantin comes from originally from the world of opera, and the carnival is something relatively new to her. But what she finds interesting about everything is that it is intercultural, intergenerational. It is something that we all have that we can show and be proud of and learn from each other. I'm not trying to make anything shorter than it needs to be, but I think that that's more or less from everything that she said. That what the essence of what she wanted to get across was is that it's something that she's constantly discovering about in her position now as the directress of the Nice Carnival in France. And she is happy to be with us. And she had thanked the organizers and the fellow moderators and everything because she knows that this, as being a virtual endeavor, is not necessarily the easiest. And we thank her for being on our panel.
Okay. So I'd like to throw one question so far, seeing that Caroline is from the opera side of thing, which is more of the theater. How does she think that the intertwining of the opera and the theater style can now come together when it comes to the traditions of Carnival in France, and how can she see that being a beneficial aspect to the rest of the wider world and the Caribbean?
Voulez-vous que je traduis?
Oui, s'il te plaît.
OK. Elle voulait savoir si, pour vous, s'il y a un lien entre l'opéra et le monde du carnaval côté Nice qui se ressemblent et que les autres hors de ce culture peuvent apprendre aussi.
Oh, merci beaucoup, Athaliah, pour la question. Oui, pour moi, le carnaval est un opéra de rue. Il est écrit avec une véritable dramaturgie. Ce ne sont pas simplement de jolis chars, de jolis danseurs, de jolies troupes artistiques. Il faut raconter une histoire. cette histoire dans le carnaval aux Caraïbes, cette histoire, vous la racontez avec votre musique, avec votre énergie, vous la vivez, vous la dansez. Euh, mais nous, il reste un public qui est plus passif, qui est plus spectateur. Et si on veut amener le spectateur vers quelque chose d'un petit peu plus passionnant et de curiosité, il faut que on écrive cette dramaturgie pour que ça soit lu comme un opéra.
So, Madame Constantin, Caroline said that she sees the carnival as being a street theater. And in being street theater, that there's many stories that can be told. Uh, Aside from that, she mentioned that the Carnival of the Caribbean, the people live it, they dance it, they express it through their dance, whereas the more European or French, as she can speak for, are a bit more calm, and they're more of a spectator. And in order to make them live something, it has to be in a bit more of in an immersive sense, where it's also a bit more easy for them to become a part of. I think I did a good job.
Yes, yes. Let me see. So, in your opinion, because this is still like the same, almost the same question, but not entirely the same. So, I want like to know, Caroline, in your opinion, how can Carnival serve as a bridge to promote the cross cultures understanding a way that remains respectful to each other's cultural roots? So, let me repeat that again, Tony. Are you good? You can.
Est-ce que vous êtes à l'aise avec cette question-là? Cette
Est-ce que
question?
tu peux traduire, Tony, s'il te plaît?
C'était plus, je vais faire en bref, c'était pour savoir si il y a une façon où les cultures peuvent apprendre de l'un et l'autre dans, dans le sens que en échange.
Oui, il y a toujours pour moi le fait d'apprendre l'un de l'autre, c'est très important. Il faut apprendre à s'écouter, à se regarder. Euh, il faut, euh, euh, il faut que nos carnavals puissent avoir des échanges. À Nice, depuis 4-5 ans, nous avons décidé d'avoir un carnaval invité étranger d'honneur chaque année pour faire valoir des cultures, des pays, une économie, des costumes différents. Ça vient en plus des troupes et des arts de rue. Et cette année, pour l'édition 2025, par exemple, c'est le Costa Rica qui sera retenu et qui viendra à Nice, puisque nous avons le l'UNOC en juin 2025 à Nice pour le sommet mondial des océans. Et le Costa Rica est co-fondateur de ça avec la France. Euh, L'interculturel, le fait d'aller écouter les sons ailleurs, le fait d'avoir des costumes différents euh, est très important aussi. Et il faut aller au-delà de l'exotisme qu'on peut donner au public. Il faut avoir une recherche plus intéressante, plus intelligente. Mais comme on dit, dans un pays, quand on découvre quelque chose, il y a toute l'harmonie du pays qui va avec. Donc il faut savoir le gérer le mieux possible et de ne pas être simplement en exhibition, mais en véritable s'immerger dans la culture. Mais Athaliah, et si je vous demandais ce que vous attendez du Carnaval de Nice?
Okay, Tony, I
Athaliah,
need
have you heard about the Nice Carnival?
Venice Carnival?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
of course,
Well,
yes. We, I know that though. Yes.
So what it is that Caroline had said before is that she does believe in cross-cultural and broadening the what is tradition for them. In fact, what she said is that they have every year for the past 5 years invited another carnival to be able to come and display their culture in order for other people to learn about their culture within the traditions of their carnival. So this year coming up, it's because they have the Summit of the Oceans coming up in 2025. They have Costa Rica, who is one of their partners, who will be participating in this year's Nice Carnival, featuring their carnival.
Okay, that sounds nice. It seems like it's
J'ai bien
something
dit,
that I really
Caroline?
need to
J'ai bien
experience.
dit,
oui, oui,
Caroline?
oui,
Parfait.
merci, Tony.
Donc,
Okay.
so perfect.
So I want to bring Gemma Raeburn-Baynes into the conversation because I just don't want to just have you sitting there and I'm asking all the questions. So Caroline, so I mean, one
It's
thing I
okay.
must know if it's anybody who have Grenada tattoo somewhere, I am not sure. It has to have a tattoo somewhere there, right? So
Yeah.
Gemma, please introduce yourself to the world. Let us know who you are and where you're from. Of course, first up, I believe in the first line. People are gonna know where you're from.
Well, thank you, Athaliah. It's so good to see you.
Yes.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, Carolyn, because I know it's afternoon for
Afternoon,
you.
yes.
Yes,
Yes.
and evening to some other people. So welcome, everyone. My name is Gemma Raeburn-Baynes. I'm the president of Playmas Montreal Cultural Association and the Gemstar Circle of Excellence Scholarship and Mentorship program that we run here in Montreal for Black high school achieving grade 11 students. I'm honored to be here as a panelist at the Montreal World Carnival Summit. I'm originally, as Athaliah said, from the beautiful island of Grenada in the West Indies, and I have proudly called Montreal, Canada, my home since 1964. My professional journey spans 35 years in the financial industry, where I gained valuable experience and insight. For the past 9 years, I've been enjoying retirement, sort of, but that has allowed me to dedicate myself fully to what has always been my passion, community service. Throughout my life, I've been committed to building and strengthening our community in Montreal. I have had the privilege of founding several nonprofit organizations, each aimed at fostering cultural enrichment, education, and empowerment within the Caribbean and broader Black community. One of the highlights of my career in community service was being a founding member of the Montreal Carnival back in 1973. Together with other community stalwarts such as the late Winston Roberts and Henry Antwine, we worked tirelessly to establish this celebration of Caribbean culture. Today, it is a joy to witness the Montreal Carnival enduring legacy and its role in celebrating our heritage and connecting people from diverse backgrounds. Montreal Carnival began, as I said, in 1973. It was inspired by the famous Caribbean festivals like Trinidad, of course, Trinidad's Carnival. It emerged as a response to the city's growing Caribbean community who brought their rich traditions, music, and culture. Originally called Carry Fiesta, now known as Carnival, which has just changed this year. The festival was the biggest and still is the biggest celebration of Caribbean culture in Montreal, and it's aimed to share Caribbean heritage with all Montrealers. So this is
Okay. A very, very broad span and rich resume you have there, my dear.
thank you, thank you.
Okay, so let's get into, because of course we all know Grenada for its jab, for its night mass, for certain
Yes.
certain key notes when it comes to the Grenadian culture. Of course, I have family from St. Vincent and Grenada, and well, I think if you're from the Caribbean, you have somebody somewhere. But originally, my grandmom from that side, she's from Grenada, and the grandma from mom's side, she's from St. Vincent. So I'm a mix of
So
everywhere.
yeah.
Yeah.
Culturally diverse. Caribbean, yes,
A cultural ambassador it is.
exactly.
Okay, so tell me, how do you believe the social and moral changes in society influences the way certain carnival traditions or themes are presented, especially seeing how Grenada has its own niche when it comes to certain things. When you go up island, you definitely won't get something that is strongly just Grenadian over there, unless you have like yourself who is in Montreal now. So again, how do you believe the social and moral changes in society influences the way certain carnival traditions or themes are presented?
Well, as you said, in various islands or around the world, which I'm learning now, they are,
Yes.
the various, everybody is different. Like in France, as Caroline was saying, it's a street theater type. And I think we do this in Grenada also. When you look at it, we all have the same cultural aspect to show our carnival, the storytelling of the carnival, which is, for if you look at the history of what we went through in slavery, this is what we project, especially in Grenada with the jab jab and, projecting the slave masters and stuff, and also the dressing up of the costumes, like in opera style, just like in Nice. So it really, when you look at it, it really reflects all the culture that we produce, and everybody, although it's different, but we have similarities. So I think as we go along, there's always similarities to what we produce on the road for Carnival. So in any country, it's like a history lesson. If you go to Jamaica, it's quite different. There's a lot of reggae, the music is different. You go to Trinidad, it's a lot. But then we have similarities, like the costumes that we wear right now. It's like Brazil. So it's all comes together when you look at it.
So for seeing that you're also part of the cultural aspect in Montreal, so what would you say, or can you share some successful approaches to securing partnerships that support Carnival's growth while respecting its cultural significance? So because of course, Montreal being cold, a lot of the time people would think, how do I enjoy Carnival in Montreal or in France or Venice? Like, how would you say persons should like have the idea to like partner with somebody in these places, and how can they become, more intertwined, and even teaching someone like myself or others who are looking in?
Yeah, it's that's very important to learn about the other cultures. Partnership, like no man is an island, I always say. Partnership is the best way. And what Caroline is doing, inviting another country to participate, is great. And what the Montreal World Carnival is doing is trying to bring all those carnivals together, partnering. That's wonderful. It has never been done to bring everybody from around the world together to celebrate. I think it's wonderful, and that's the only way to go. And Well, you know, in Grenada, for example, we have shiploads of Trinidadians that have come to Grenada to join us and participate and make the carnival bigger. So partnership is the way to go. You know, you can't, like Toronto should really invite Montreal, and they do. They invite the people from Montreal to come up and play mass. And you know, in Montreal, we encourage and invite the people from Toronto and Ottawa and everything to come down and participate. But I think getting more partners involved also shows a bigger carnival, a more luscious carnival. And then that goes down to sponsorship also. When you know that you have a bigger carnival, you can really promote that and market that and bring more sponsors and get your carnival to be bigger and better.
Awesome. So this question I'm posing, go
I think
ahead, Caroline.
Caroline has a question.
Yes.
Désolée, Athaliah. Merci beaucoup, Gemma. C'est exactement ça. Le fait de partager nos cultures différentes, de continents, voilà. Il reste la partie financière qui est la plus difficile à tenir pour inviter le monde dans le monde. Et c'est en ça où on reste parce que les budgets diminuent, j'imagine, pour nous tous. Et c'est très compliqué d'offrir des costumes de qualité à des artistes de qualité, en faisant venir le monde, les loger, les nourrir. Après la pandémie, les avions, tout ça est devenu excessivement cher. Donc, on a ces problématiques. Une des idées peut-être pour partager serait ce qu'on est en train de faire aujourd'hui, de partager dans un monde virtuel nos cultures dans des carnavals qui, voilà, pourraient être en tout cas identifiés et mélangés tous ensemble. J'ai eu la chance il y a quelques années d'être invitée par l'UNESCO à La Havane pour une représentation des carnavals de la Caraïbe et ils sont venus après à Nice financés par l'UNESCO. Et il y avait la représentation, voilà. Et il reste quand même des moyens de pouvoir partager ça ensemble. Je ne sais pas si c'est pareil dans les carnavals du monde entier. À Nice, une très grande amie qui est une très grande historienne des carnavals qui s'appelle Madame Annie Sidro m'a toujours dit que Carnaval existait pour faire fuir nos peurs et nos démons. Je pense que c'est aujourd'hui, dans le monde dans lequel on vit avec nos peurs, nos craintes pour nos enfants, pour les générations à venir, pour les guerres, pour la société, c'est le mot d'ordre qui pourrait nous rassembler.
And that's
Bon
so
courage.
true.
Yes.
Yeah, that is so true. When you think about like releasing your fears and reaching out on the road, it's a freedom. A lot of the times when people come to even Trinidad Carnival or any carnival, once you're able to just dress how you want, be on the road, have some fun, enjoy the culture, enjoy the food, enjoy the mass. I think that is exactly what we look forward to when it comes to just even if it's those 2 days of freedom. But in Trinidad, it's not 2 days, it's a marathon.
But also, I think,
Yes.
does everybody have a translation now? Is everybody seeing a
No.
translation? No. So
No,
I think there's some important things that Carolyn touched upon that needs to be expressed.
yes.
She was talking about the rising costs.
Cost.
She's partnerships are more important and sponsorships are more important than ever. She's like, everything costs more year over year, especially since the pandemic. She also spoke about the fact that that's why she feels that these exchanges, especially culturally, are important. She attended a UNESCO funded exchange between Cuba in Havana, and they came as well to see the Carnival of Nice, where they both were able to partake in each other's festivities based upon a UNESCO exchange. So there's a lot of opportunities out there for everybody to work together to increase and better each other's carnivals. So yeah, so she was on that, but cost is what she said. The rising cost of everything is what's putting most carnivals in jeopardy, and this is worldwide, Carolyn.
This is
This is
yes.
worldwide. This is worldwide. You know, sorry, I'm not a panelist or anything.
No,
So
that's
maybe I should just
that's
go
still
off of
fine
this one.
because you're translating the part that I didn't get because I'm now seeing the rest of it here. So I was
Yeah,
able to capture that part of it. So thank you so
yeah,
much, Tony.
you're welcome.
Yeah. So I have one question, but I want both parties to answer because I want to hear your interpretation of this. So for me, let me make sure I have the right question for you. So because I want to bring the younger audience involved so they can understand this. So how do carnivals balance the tension between preserving the traditional aspect of things and adapting to attract the younger audience? Because when we think about, especially Trinidad, we have the two types. We have the traditional mask and we have the bikini and beads Brazilian style mask, if you want to call the look, based on the look, but it's not the float type. So the traditional mask, a lot of the times you will hear people say the tradition is dying because we have the olden type of mask. So how would you now interpret that, and how would you bring the young people, or your strategy you think younger persons can get involved in Carnival?
Well, I think you have to market to them. You have to include them. You have to give the costuming that they like, as you said. We have something in Grenada called Monday Night Mass, where is a T-shirt and they have a lot of lights and, you know, the hats are in lights and stuff. The young people, you can find 2, 4, 5,000 young people enjoying that. And then the traditional mass is more the older people. But I think it's so important not to lose the traditional mass. We have something in Grenada called the short knee. This mass is since I was a baby. I know the short knee mass, which is a really traditional costume. And it's funny that you're fully clothed, even your face is covered with a mask. And I find a lot of people sort of go towards that mask because nobody knows who they are. Nobody knows who they are. The costume is that way, and they love it and they enjoy it. And there's a dance that goes with it. Everybody knows the dance. So I think you have to have you can't just have the beads. And so, because even some young people don't like the beads that's going on now, you know. And I think when they have the traditional mask, there's a sort of decorum that goes with it also. When you're in the beads, excuse my expression, you're ready to wind down and get on bad. When you're in your beautiful traditional mask, there is a decorum how you carry yourself. So I really wish that could come back a little bit more. I love to see the traditional mask, the Indian costumes. You know, it's beautiful. And as Carolyn was talking about the opera, I could see the themes of the carnival being more operatic and beautiful. So I really think we have to get more people, young people, involved in the carnival. They just want to come and call it a jump up and just put on a pair of shorts and a jeans and a t-shirt and come and jump up. But they have to understand the culture behind it. And maybe that's a way of maybe having workshops during the year. Like right now, I'm running a workshop for young people. It's called The Roots of Our English Black Arts and Culture. And we're talking about that. We're teaching how to make carnival costumes, beautiful carnival costumes. I think the carnival committees, you should really talk more about that, have workshops, get the young people involved in building their costumes and in the wire bending and everything. And that would probably alleviate that. That's how I see it.
Okay, so Caroline, how do Carnival balance the tension between preserving traditional aspects and adapting to attract the younger persons, especially on your side of things?
Je vais être toujours d'accord avec Gemma, je pense. En effet, les enfants sont le public de demain. C'est eux qui vont continuer à faire survivre les fêtes et nos carnavals. Il ne faut pas qu'ils le considèrent comme un patrimoine muséal, quelque chose qui soit statique. Il faut, nous, en Europe, leur donner ça dans les écoles, monter des ateliers, des workshops avec de l'intergénération, avec les grands-parents, avec les parents, avec des professeurs. On n'a pas les masques à Nice, ou spécialement, en tout cas chez nous, à Nice, mais on a la possibilité de travailler le costume sur le thème de l'année, puisque Carnaval de Nice a un thème différent chaque année. Cette année, c'est le thème des océans. On a la possibilité aussi pour les plus jeunes, les adolescents, parce que les enfants, c'est facile. Les adolescents, ça l'est moins, parce qu'ils ont d'autres activités. C'est les réseaux sociaux, avoir des concours, des jeux sur les réseaux sociaux, des relais, être au plus proche de leur musique, organiser des concerts pour que cette jeunesse s'approprie le plus possible un événement patrimonial, mais qui doit évoluer avec son public et son temps.
And I agree with you.
I'm going to translate.
Sorry.
I'm going to translate for because there was some good details in there.
Yes.
What she said is that in Europe, the way that they integrate youth is that they have they create ateliers that are intergenerational. So they have everyone from the young kids to grandparents. The hardest people to motivate to be able to get into things are adolescents and teenagers. And from that, what she said is that they have reached out through social media, creating contests and treasure hunts and stuff like that, which, you know, gives them prizes or what have you. But they also create events or concerts which cater to their generation while still maintaining in the spectrum of the traditional patrimonial type of carnival, but giving them something which addresses them. And she said music being one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also love the fact that you want to bring it back to the schools, because that is something that we all should aspire to have everywhere. We've been having those conversations here in Trinidad to actually start more, especially seeing that steel pan is now recognized as our national instrument internationally, and understanding that this should be something that is rooted from the youngest child out. Because even myself, I mean, if you show me what to do, I would do it. But to say I just pick up a pan stick and play, that is something that it was never part of, you know, it must be part of who you are. And I think even now, well, outside of after studying all these things that I'm studying, because I'm studying everything under the sun, plus I'm now doing my master's. So it's so much work. And as soon as I'm done, I think that is something cultural I want to add to my resume as well. Because I think if you're here, the one thing you want to learn is something like the steel pan, the national instrument. And this is something I believe also as you rightfully said, Gemma, like teaching the children the traditions of short knee and let them understand the dance and why the dance derived and how persons can preserve that part of Grenada. And in France, when you think about pushing the narrative of bringing the younger persons involved, because yes, it may not be seen as a regular dance on the road, but there are certain traditions you want to upkeep, like the singing of the opera, the dance, the movement, the posture, the clothing, and these are things that one of you would want to see come back to life. And saying that, I want to, Gemma, you wanted to say something before I go on to this
No, no,
question?
I wanted to talk about the pan, which is a very good thing you
Yes.
mentioned about teaching this play the steel pan, Carolyn, in schools. When I was in London, England, and I heard the steel pan playing, and I said, "Is that steel pan?" I ran over to where I heard, and it was in Southampton, England. And there were all these kids playing pan, and they were all white kids playing steel pan, and so good. I said, my goodness, it's so good to get the young people involved. And we have Salah here who's teaching it in schools. And so that the young generation are really coming, and hopefully that will bring up more of the tradition of the steel pan, because it's a wonderful instrument, the only instrument
The
that
20th
was
century.
born in the 20th century. So, and it's from Trinidad, so that's wonderful. Yeah.
Mais on a fait ça aussi à Nice avec des enfants issus de quartiers défavorisés pour leur apprendre à jouer d'instruments de musique, et on a monté une batucada, mais avec des enfants issus d'immigration qui ne se parlaient pas ou qui parlaient mal français ou qui avaient des soucis sociaux. Et on est en train de grossir notre bande.
Yeah.
Et ça fonctionne très bien, la musique, le rythme, l'envie de faire la fête.
Yeah.
Do I need to translate again?
Yes, go
Probably
ahead,
the first part.
Okay,
Just,
perfect. So what we'll
Athaliah.
say is that she was saying that in Nice they are also working with things like the steel pan, and they've gone into areas that have disenfranchised or less fortunate resources. And they've been working with them, and they've integrated them into their band, and their band is becoming bigger, and and the sound is becoming richer, and it's just growing. And I think that sounds like a great initiative myself.
Oh, yeah, great.
so
It's
saying that
exactly
is part of it, I want to also highlight the fact, bring this question to you guys. How important is it for Carnival celebrations to showcase the local artisans, the musicians, performers, and what steps are to be taken to support these communities? So let's start with Caroline. So how important is it for the Carnival celebration? So in France, you should say, well, the opera celebrations or even the partnership with other cultures to showcase the local artisans, musicians, and performers, and what steps are being taken to support these communities.
Tony, au secours.
Tony,
Tony, I
Tony,
think you fell
unmute.
off. So anyone
Sorry,
can
I had a little technical issue. I'm sorry, I had to move away. That was the question was concerning?
How important is it for Carnival celebrations to showcase local artisans, musicians, and performers, and what steps are taken to support these communities?
Ok. C'est pour plus l'aspect du communautaire et local. C'est comment vous en les soutiens pour s'intégrer dans le carnaval? Les artisans, les musiciens, c'est plutôt international, local ou mélange des deux?
Sur Nice, c'est un mélange des deux. Mélanger l'international avec le patrimoine local. C'est la valorisation du patrimoine culturel aussi local. Un patrimoine qui est de l'ordre des carnavaliers. L'ADN du carnaval de Nice, c'est de travailler sur l'ironie, la satire euh, et, euh, et voilà et dénoncer des choses qui nous font mal ou qui nous font peur. Il y a aussi un soutien à l'économie locale qui est important à promouvoir dans le carnaval et créer aussi des liens communautaires pour pouvoir préserver ça. On n'a pas la musique traditionnelle sur le carnaval de Nice, c'est le mélange de toutes ces fanfares mais on est en train de travailler pour les jeunes à mettre plutôt des DJ sur nos défilés pour justement fédérer la jeunesse pour qu'ils reviennent dans le carnaval et travailler avec nos troupes euh, sur, euh, sur les musiques qui viennent en international. Je ne sais pas si j'ai bien répondu aux questions,
Très
Athaliah.
bien, très bien, très bien. So what she said was is that she at the Nice Carnival they have tried to take many steps into integrating these things. One of them being that they are trying to work with DJs in order to bring the youth in. But they also feel that it's important to keep a certain level of tradition in order to be able to bring that youth in there as well. What else vous avez mentionné aussi vers le fin,
Le
avant
soutien,
le fin?
les liens communautaires
Les
et
liens
le soutien à
communautaires.
l'économie locale.
Oui, oui, oui. That it's important to work with the local communities because they're at the end of the day the ones who support and also benefit from the carnival. So it's important that everybody works together. They work with international as well. But again, the main focus is about celebrating in the way that of irony and satire and what was the other thing?
Et,
Ironie, satire.
c'est déjà très bien.
Ok, parfait.
Et, et dénoncer, mais ça revient au
Yeah,
même.
and to denounce everything that makes us feel bad. It's really
Right.
a chance to free ourselves.
I
Right.
think I think around the world, especially when it comes to up islands, a lot of the times people would want you to feel bad about wearing the costumes, having a great time. And I could actually see why in France, especially be more I don't want to say more demure, more quiet, but it's not the culture unless someone else brings it there. So I could understand the partnership with other islands coming to Venice and actually trying to promote cultures, which is to me, I give you all kudos for that because it's a market that you have to now bring the entire island or country to understand other countries and for them to actually participate heavily in these events. So, I mean, to me, it's still a try is still better than no kind of a performance at all. And I want to give you all a little high five on that. So, Gemma, bringing it back to you because I know for
Yeah.
sure you would want to bring Grenada in this conversation heavily because I know in that household is either a St. Vincent or a Grenadian quarrel. And I know for sure you winning. You're winning.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, because I'm all for supporting local artists,
Yes.
and we have a Grenadian calypsonian here and by the name of Doggies, who is so fantastic. You have to bring him to Nice, Caroline. He's really, really good.
I have to go to experience that too. I have to go to Nice to experience
Yes,
it.
yes, we
Trust
are
me.
coming. We are
We are
coming.
going.
That's it. So I find that showcasing the local artists and musician and performers is crucial to the success of the carnival. I think they are like the heart and soul of the celebrations. And I think that their participation ensures that the carnival reflects the unique traditions. If you have somebody who's local and it's part of your carnival, it just reflects the local traditions of the artistry of the community. It just
But
reflects the
do you
community.
think people actually like pay attention that, okay, because we know a lot of the time the source in Trinidad for our artisans here to come over there. But do you think that it's more of a situation where, let's say, Pure Grenada could take heed and say, you know what, let's try to really and truly teach them the art of creating this so we won't have to really source out too much because we have people here who can
Yeah.
actually benefit from creating the same thing.
Exactly, because in the islands, we think that our local people, are not good enough. Like, so we bring in all the heavy hitters from Trinidad, and, a lot of people gravitate to that. But we have to, as you said, we have to teach them that, to appreciate what we have in our community. Because we've got some wonderful local calypsonians in Grenada. Wonderful.
But I think Jab is on the rise, eh? Jab right now.
Jab music.
Jab doing its
Everybody's
thing.
doing jab music now.
Yeah, jab is,
yeah.
first of all, when you hear a jab session, you understand if you have no energy, stay out people thing. Yeah.
Oh my God, the
And,
jab
and,
has taken over. It's
yes,
taken over and it's going international.
I see
We're bringing
Solution
it to
music as
France.
well. Rick and Scrape a bit Bahamas. It's so much, but and the thing is, if we understand the names of all the because here we soca and groovy, if you understand where has what type of music, you can now say, okay, this, and you could identify with the persons who sing a certain genre of music. Because the thing is, from the time you hear a certain beat, you understand where it comes from. So you can tell the cultural aspect behind it. And I think more needs to be done when it comes to highlight this part of it. Because every time you hear something, in order for somebody, what we would say to bust, or which means, and Caroline, let me explain that for you, to now become known like this new artist, or for your music to become well known playing throughout the Caribbean islands. It has to always start in Trinidad. And to me, I don't find that should be, because why would you have a cultural identity and it has to start here for you to get your shine for it to go all over the world? So I think a lot more needs to be done when it comes to your niche market and to your cultural identity.
Exactly.
Mais,
So I'm not sure if somebody
Caroline
can
has
give me time.
something.
Yes, Caroline.
pardon, Athaliah et Gemma. Je suis d'accord avec vous, mais vous êtes dans la déambulation et dans la proximité dans
Yeah.
vos déambulations, avec la musique, avec le son, avec cette énergie palpable. Nous, on a des chars énormes et qui sont déjà une représentation artistique, visuelle pour un public qui est lourde à déchiffrer, à savoir comment on peut mêler ce genre pour que ça soit un joli chantier, mais qui ait du sens, cette harmonie que l'on cherche tous pour les gens, parce que c'est important de la proximité et la déambulation pour des enfants, pour des parents qui viennent montrer le résultat peut-être de 4 mois de travail. Il y a, je pense, une
Oui.
Gemma and Athaliah, Anne-Lorraine.
So before because I know we are supposed to do a second part of this session, but before we go to that, I just want to ask one more question if I'm permitted to. So for now, what are your hopes for the future of Carnival globally or even where you're located, especially in terms of the cultural preservation and the expansion behind traditional boundaries? So let's start with you, Caroline. So
Gemma, you want?
What was the question?
the question is, what are your hopes for the future of Carnival globally, especially in terms of cultural preservation and expansion beyond traditional boundaries?
Wow.
Wow. Ah,
So let's do it in parts. Let's do it in parts. So the first part is, what are your hopes for the future of Carnival in France?
Gemma, vous voulez que je commence?
Ce n'est plus un host.
Ok.
Sí.
What
C'est sí, en Spanish, no, oui. Yeah.
Je pense que l'espoir de nos carnavals, c'est nous, c'est Gemma, c'est Athaliah, c'est toutes les noms qui s'affichent sur notre écran, parce qu'on est mobilisés sur ces carnavals, et c'est aussi de nous soutenir les uns les autres. Il faut qu'on parle et qu'on communique entre nous et qu'on communique aux autres ce qu'on fait, comment on le fait. Je pense donc que ça vient d'une collaboration internationale qui est très importante et ne pas rester travailler en silo ou dans un couloir de nage. Et c'est la protection de nos héritages différents que on pourra à un moment donné mêler. Et c'est une sorte de résilience aussi, d'accepter tout ce qui a pu se passer avant, comme la pandémie. C'est aller de l'avant et emmener nos enfants avec nous. C'est pour moi la génération à venir, c'est la plus importante. C'est celle qui va faire un carnaval plus vert, c'est-à-dire qui fait attention à l'environnement, aux méthodes RSE, de poubelles, de pollution, de travail intelligent avec l'autre, avec le voisin. Et c'est un levier social magnifique.
Okay. And go ahead, Gemma.
Gemma.
Yeah, well,
but I think
Oh, okay, go
maybe I
ahead,
should
Tony.
translate.
Yes.
Caroline, tu me laisses pas la chance d'être facile des fois. C'est très profond ce que tu as à dire.
Plein de choses à dire.
Oui, c'est très bon. Oui, merci beaucoup. So Caroline was saying that what it is that in Nice, she's putting forward more and more things where for them it's from year to year, it's theme to theme, and for them it's about the next generation, because it's harder and harder to keep the next generation engaged, and so now for her it's a year-round thing, Carnival. It's not just the few months before. It's a year-round thing about keeping the interest there, especially to the younger generation.
Yeah.
C'est ça?
I certainly agree with Caroline. My vision also for the Carnival is that it remains a vibrant event celebrating cultural identity and diversity and cultural understanding, that more people get involved into the whole culture of it and understand it's a cultural thing and not just a party on the street. And we also have to get the people around, the spectators, to understand, and the media. The media has to play a very big role in understanding the value of Carnival, especially here in Montreal. I would really like to see more sponsors, more community people, more businesses get involved and understand what this great explosion of culture on the street can do for them, for their business. So this is what I look forward to. I look forward to the city coming up with some more money in order for us to put something that they will be proud of and that we will be proud of on the street. Like, I mean, now I know everything costs more and so, but they have to understand that in Montreal, they give us 2 months to put on a carnival. You can't do that in 2 months. You need a full year to put on a carnival. They give you the okay in April, and you have to put on the carnival in June.
Listen,
I'll just interject here for that so that I give Carolyn the context.
Yes.
So that you think. Vu que vous êtes un département de la ville, ça fonctionne différemment pour vous autres que pour nous. Ici, on doit on doit faire une application pour avoir le permis et aussi une subvention de la ville qui se dépose au mois de décembre. Avec ça, on reçoit la réponse fin de mars, début d'avril. Avec ce temps-là, le carnaval se passe 2 mois à 3 mois plus tard. Donc, pour nous, c'est vraiment la préparation. Il y en a pendant 3 mois à faire. On sait bien que c'est pas possible de faire un carnaval dans 3 mois, mais c'est comme ça que les organismes présentement, ils fonctionnent. Donc, c'est pas... Et qu'ils sont subventionnés, subventionnés si on peut. Donc, c'est difficile après d'avoir des commandites dans 3 mois pour un événement quand tu ne sais pas si tu vas avoir le permis ou l'approbation pour le faire ton défilé. Donc,
bien sûr, même si tu voulais avoir des financements de sponsors ou de mécènes, c'est impossible en 2 mois. Impossible.
Oui.
Exact.
Même en non, c'est compliqué, ça se construit sur plusieurs années. Et
mais au moins, vous êtes un département géré par la ville qui a un budget avec lequel de travailler. Et tu sais bien de l'année à l'année que vous allez avoir ce carnaval-là. So for us, I think it's important that we understand that it's a problem that everybody is dealing with. Même si vous êtes une partie de la ville ou si vous êtes quelqu'un qui fait une application pour la ville, c'est tout des constraints et restreints qui ne nous permettent pas de faire des affaires comme on est supposé de les faire.
Oui, bien sûr, Tony, j'entends. Hein. Mais il faut savoir aussi que le Carnaval de Nice est un événement et l'événement principal de la France en hiver. Nice est passé au patrimoine mondial immatériel de l'UNESCO en tant que capitale hivernale, parce que les touristes venaient au 19e siècle profiter de la température clémente de Nice et que le carnaval est devenu un événement, l'événement majeur de la France. Donc pour une ville comme Nice, il y a des retombées aussi énormes. Et donc ce carnaval, au-delà d'être patrimonial, il est aussi maintenant une source de retombées économiques pour les hôteliers, les restaurants. Et c'est pour ça que la ville de Nice aussi l'a repris en régie. Mais en effet, ça se construit sur plusieurs années. Même pour trouver un mécène, on ne peut pas proposer d'une année sur l'autre. Il faut que ça s'inscrive dans l'inclusivité, dans le levier social. Et ça se fait sur 2 ou 3 ans. Mais on va le construire ensemble. J'en suis persuadée.
Mais merci beaucoup. I think, Athaliah, maybe we can go to the question and answers.
Yes. We like to go to those. Let me just pull that up.
Good afternoon or good morning to everyone. This is Lorraine in the background. Thank you very much, Caroline, Gemma, and Athaliah for the intervention this morning. I think that we learned a lot. A lot of information was shared, so I would like to thank you all for that.
Yeah, I'm seeing what was, let me see, answered. So I'm seeing one coming.
Any of them that are in French, I'll take care of. And
Okay,
you can handle the ones in English, okay?
The one in English, it asks, could the ideas of students involved doing a homestay program with other carnivals? It's a two-part question, it's very long. So let's for example, in fact it's one part of the question, but they have an example. So 1 to 2 or more from Nice paying their own fare to Trinidad, but having a home to stay for 1 to 2 weeks. So meaning they come to let's use Trinidad as the example as they have here. So they pay from there, they come to Trinidad and they experience the carnival here, but they only pay for their flight to come to the country. So if they are probably getting help to have some organized home to stay in or something, if that's what
it would be, it's more like an exchange program. So it would be an exchange program with say a family from Nice and a family from Trinidad, and that they open their homes to people who are interested in taking part in culture. The people then take the flights to go to wherever their destinations, but they are lodged and roomed by somebody in a home country.
Okay, so Gemma, what do you think about that being something to look into?
That is definitely something to look into that will really help for people to do the exchange. I know when I went to South Africa for when they were starting up their carnival, and they had Henry and Twine organized that we go to South Africa. Well, they brought us and they hosted us to have a conference to talk about doing carnival in South Africa. And it was paid by the government of South Africa. So maybe that could be something where the government can participate in, because that was a learning experience for them to know how do we put on a carnival, to get involved in doing a carnival. So I think that would be a wonderful idea, and for people to be supportive. But you got to get people on board to really, make this happen, and it can happen. It's a good idea.
Mais Gemma, le Costa Rica est financé, son voyage sur Nice est financé par le gouvernement du Costa Rica.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yes.
C'est important de préciser.
Yeah, so that's exactly what they're doing in France, in Nice as well, is that they do an exchange with, this year it was Costa Rica, and it was through UNESCO that they do it.
All right, so another question I see here. This comes from Claudie Filias. This asks, how about getting schools involved? So I guess that is when we were talking about getting the younger persons and cultural aspect of things. Claudie's explained these are all cultural settings, and schools teach about history and cultures. Maybe using these respective carnivals and getting the schools involved, whether it be via graded projects or volunteer works. I kind of like this. What are your thoughts?
Oh, wonderful. Yes. Because the schools are teaching Pan. They can also, even an after-school program. that, you know, making costumes, getting involved in the culture of the carnival. That's a wonderful idea.
Nice.
Caroline, vous
Yeah.
avez dit que dans vos écoles, il y a des affaires que vous en faites qui sont des programmes pour introduire ou faire des ateliers de carnaval.
Tony, c'est un espoir que j'ai.
Oh, c'est un espoir, OK.
Certaines écoles le font, mais pas toutes.
OK.
Et certaines le font par le biais de la danse, mais folklorique, par la musique. Il faut monter d'autres programmes, mais tous les établissements scolaires ne le font pas. Et c'est pour ça que je voudrais monter cette académie avec des ateliers, avec des rendez-vous. Il faut donner rendez-vous à la population pour qu'ils viennent.
Parfait. C'est génial, ça.
And not only the schools, but there's a lot of community organizations that should be doing things like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Exactly.
But we see locally one or two persons try to get the schools involved. So let's say if it's in one of the what we would call hotspot areas, they would still have one or two persons who are artisans who make costumes, and they approach the school to see if they would want to have a school band to just get the children involved, to let them be a part of something, a different side of the spectrum of what they know. So there are one or two persons who are trying. Of course, again, sponsorship funding, it's something that's very tough. So you would see the difference in how their clothes are made compared to some of the bigger bands or traditional usual bands we know on the road. So there are some parts to get better, and I think it's in progress.
Et c'est important aussi que ces programmes soient accompagnés par des professionnels, parce qu'il faut tirer les carnavals et cet événement vers un côté culturel et haut et de qualité. Pas spécialement de dire c'est carnaval et on peut le faire avec n'importe quoi. Non, ce sont des véritables artistes. Il faut que les professionnels emmènent et entraînent avec eux dans leur sillon ces générations.
I agree. I could not agree.
We have a French question here from
Yes. Which one is this one?
This is from Monsieur Yves-Marie Serraline.
The first one.
Pardon?
No, question number one.
Yes, I'll read it
Yes.
here. Sur le territoire français, il y a des carnavals dans l'Hexagone, sur le continent européen, mais aussi dans les territoires français, dans la Caraïbe, Martinique, Guadeloupe, Guyane, Saint-Martin. Ce sont des carnavals créolophones, comme à Haïti. Ils ont donc une valeur patrimoniale et identitaire. Les textes montrent que les carnavals de Martinique datent de 1700 environ. Il avait même été interdit un temps avant de faire la gloire de la ville de Saint-Pierre. Détruite en 1902, comment voyez-vous l'intégration de notre carnaval dans votre projet international? I guess that would be addressed to me.
Je pense que ça m'est adressé à moi.
mais parce que si on parle de ce qui est international, vous avez chacun entre vous, vous avez comme votre propre carnaval avec leurs traditions et tout ça. Je crois pas que c'est international comme tel parce que il y aura toujours un invité. S'il parle d'international, c'est plutôt ce que nous, on va faire,
Oui.
je crois. Et pour adresser à ça, I'll say it in English so that everybody else understands. The whole point of this conference and then festival is to share, exchange, not compete, not do anything but to learn from all the rich cultures that are out there. Being that we came from Montreal, Montreal is a very multicultural city, also multilingual, which is still unique to many cities around the world. So we get an influx of people coming in from all places, Anglo and Franco, having that they come in from Canada as well. So with this rich tapestry that we have here, for us growing up, it was very important to share various cultures. And we realized that, you know, the lion dance is the same thing and at the same time of year as Carnival. We realized that Bulgarians had their Carnival, which was 6,000 years old. And it just started going on and on and on, where we realized that we have more in common than we have differences, and why not share that in one place at one time. So instead of not necessarily asking people to take away from their carnivals or their festivals, but give samplings of everybody's carnival at one time or another over the years, where we can all kind of enjoy, share, engage, and exchange culture. So, le créolophone côté, pour moi, c'est juste un côté riche, plus enrichissant pour tous les carnavals. Soit par langue, on a nos frères afro-latinos aussi, on a nos sœurs d'Asie. Donc, c'est partout qu'on se trouve le carnaval. Donc, le carnaval, c'est pas pour une plus que l'autre, c'est pour tout le monde. Donc, c'est ça qu'on veut partager ici et c'est ça que c'était le but d'avoir et monter une conférence comme telle pour avoir une festival l'année prochaine qui va montrer à tout le monde les différentes cultures. I hope that answers your question, Monsieur Yves-Marie. Bonjour pour who's this? Joanne Guérand. On parle beaucoup de l'importance intégrée des locaux, des futures générations. J'aurais aimé savoir comment vous voyez l'intégration de groupes de personnes étrangères qui viennent justement au moment des carnavals pour découvrir la culture de votre pays. Comment faites-vous pour les intégrer à ce moment à caractère très personnel? Ça, c'est l'histoire de vos pays.
C'est à moi, cette question?
Oui, est-ce que vous avez entendu? Oui.
Oui, j'ai entendu. Merci. Si c'est le carnaval invité étranger d'honneur, on essaye de promouvoir sur le village de carnaval des expositions ou des rencontres au plus proche avec la population pour un partage et des connaissances culturelles. Après, si ce sont les troupes, elles sont tellement ravies de pouvoir venir sur le corso. Les échanges se font dans les loges entre artistes le plus souvent. Ils échangent entre eux, ils dansent entre eux, et c'est ce partage qui est magnifique. Mais comme dans les coulisses de n'importe quelle exhibition, il n'y a pas plus ou pas moins. Tout le monde est artiste et tout le monde vient se mêler à cette fête qui est le carnaval. Encore une fois, en France, et pour revenir à ce que disait la question d'avant, en effet, il y a plusieurs façons de montrer le carnaval. Il peut y avoir dans le nord de la France des rassemblements plus humains de gens qui font la fête et des rondes dehors. Il y a les chars et les grands costumes sur Nice. il y a plusieurs façons différentes de célébrer Carnaval. Et du coup, le contenu de ce qu'on propose au public diffère dans différents endroits de la ville pour Nice. Et c'est pour ça que la mobilité, la proximité est importante à l'extérieur des tribunes et que le spectacle et l'exhibition est important à l'intérieur du comment dire, de l'espèce de forum que l'on monte en centre-ville.
All right, so let me see. Someone says, this isn't a question. However, I wanted to highlight that Kiddies Carnival, which happens at certain celebration, is a great way to include the younger generations. And that is true. Kiddies Carnival has always been the way to get them, like get their feet wet, get them inclusive. Again, if we allow them to also make their own costumes, I think that would also play an integral role in ensuring that they also have a hand in the creation and becoming their own young artisans. We've been many a years we have heard about the youngest who have created costume. We have heard the youngest who have sang calypso. We have heard of Marshall. We have heard of Aaron Duncan. But now we have to actually get these younger ones involved in the creation of what we call the costumes. So let me see.
So I'll just I'll answer, put something onto this,
Yes.
because the thing is that you are in a unique, well, not unique, we're in a unique situation because we're expats. We are the kids of we're second generation or first generation Canadian born, right? So it's not the same thing as being for you where it's your religion, right? This is where for us it's about really fortifying the generations to come, because for you they're gonna Carnival is Carnival is Carnival, but for us, you know, that you can't, it's not embedded or enforced in us the same way. So you will have those who will stray away from the culture.
Right.
And then it's harder to necessarily, what Kitty's Carnival used to be and what it is today is a representation of our parents coming over, putting us in stuff. And now that we've become older, is it necessarily so that we've put our children into these things?
Exactly.
So has the generation continued? Have our kids wanted, as we wanted, to keep up our traditions? This is where we're seeing as a difference in North America, right? Because that's well, and when I say North America, I mean
Right.
northern North America, because you guys are part of North America as well, but in the southern part. But it's easier to maintain and pass on intergenerationally the culture within Trinidad than it is to actually do it within Canada, when there's so many other distractions, like you don't have hockey right away. That's something that
I mean, we do, but it's field hockey. It's not hockey.
you know, but just to say that there's so many distractions that aren't there that are here, that I think it's more about figuring out, again, ways that are outside of just carnival time,
Right.
to have people connect back with their culture and roots beyond just food. Because again, it can be lost in translation based upon the fact that we are distant from that which was considered our homeland.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Let's see.
Perfect. That was just my addition, but because again, it is.
Does anyone else want to chime in on this?
territory.
Because I mean, this is where the conversation starts, and this is where we get to hear other person's expectations and experiences when it comes to outlining certain topics. So the floor is open. You can take chance if you want to speak on certain things.
There's a question here from Brian Smith, if you want to maybe.
Brian Smith, where is it?
It was sent at
Brian
10.
Smith.
Yeah.
Many carnivals lack a capacity to increase that one.
Yes.
Okay, so Brian Smith says, Many carnivals lack the capacity to increase their programming, lack of permanent staff and professional. Many are volunteers. Anyone want to chime in on this part of the conversation? Gemma, what do you think?
Many carnivals, what? What was the question?
Many carnivals lack the capacity to increase their programming. So the lack of permanent staff and professional. So what do you say on that?
Yeah, well, I can only speak for Montreal Carnival, where we don't have an office for Carnival. It's everybody working out of their homes. We used to, back in the days, have an office, but I think lack of funding. We really need more funding because Carnival is a year-round business.
Yes.
It's not something you can do in 2 months. You have to have an office. You have to be really prepared. You have to have paid staff to make sure that this carnival works properly. We had that maybe 20 years ago. Montreal Carnival is over 50 years old. And we see the decline, we see so much happening with it that I think there has to be a change, so that we can come back to where we were. And we can't do it like just operating on a part-time basis. It has to be more structured because listen, Carnival, as we all know, is a multi-million-dollar
Yes.
event. You
Yes.
can make so much money, but you have to be prepared. You have to have your office, you have to have your staff, you've got to have someone to answer the phone when it rings. It has to be run as a business. And that is the problem with
Well, it's
I can only
literally
speak
a
for
production
Montreal
house,
Carnival.
it's a production because here we are now, and this is where again the partnerships come into play because even though people would call Trinidad and Tobago the Mecca and the home of Carnival, there are so many things that we still need to understand, we need to fix. However, we are now in situations where each band they have their production house, and some persons recognize the value of having production. So they like a person now, even if they don't create the costume, they are now helping you produce your line of costumes. So that we are now having a bunch of one person who may have a singular person with their own team, now creating another business. So you're now creating the wire bras. So let's just say you are looking for wire bras, you could come to, let's say me, Athaliah, to get the wire bras made because Athaliah has her own production team who are creating wire bras. So that is another niche business for persons.
Yeah.
We have a lot of
Athaliah,
yes,
sorry not to cut you off, my
no
dear, but
problem.
we're at 10:31 and we're running over into the next
Over
time.
the next
Actually, 15
section.
minutes.
Okay,
Oh
no problem.
boy. Well, that
But
was
we'd like
really
to
interesting.
thank everybody. We'd like to thank everybody for joining in the conversation.
Could I say something
And,
quickly?
What?
Sure.
Oh, Jerry, you're on.
Yes, I just want to quickly say something here. Essentially that, let me just shut this down here a little bit. Yeah, I'm sorry that I didn't join exactly at the start time because I have another meeting I'm attending at the same time simultaneously. But I just want to say thank you for inviting me to attend this. And of course, I willingly accepted the invitation to attend this Global Carnival Summit. I think it's much needed, it's much appreciated, and I want to especially thank the organizers and each one of you on this panel here for making yourselves available to share the information that you're sharing and to convene this all-important discussion. What you are doing here and all the participants is something of significant, much significance for the benefit. One second. For the benefit of the sustainability of our culture and our carnivals. It's about preserving. It's about showcasing. It's about developing and also monetizing to the benefit, especially of the creatives. And I emphasize that the creatives, the ones who do the work keep the culture alive. So I'm happy that we are having such an engagement, an exercise. And as a Consul General for Grenada here in Toronto, I've been in contact with folks who are in culture, the Toronto Caribbean Carnival and elsewhere, in Montreal as well, such as Ms. Raeburn-Baynes here. And I look forward to working with all of you, regardless of where you're from, regardless of which country or which continent you're on. I'm available to assist in any way possible. And I hope we have a successful summit. And I wish you all well. May God bless us all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So that's the end of this panel, and thank you all again very much for taking part. We'll take a 5-minute break, and we'll resume with the art of masquerading, art and science of masquerading as the next panel. Thank you.